I used to predict how well the episodes I posted on this channel were going to perform. I used to think, hey, this episode is going to do really well, or I'd think, this episode is only going to be watched by just very few people. Well, after posting over 300 episodes, I'm out of the prediction business because the number of views for each episode range anywhere from 11,000 to 30 and everything in between. So I have no idea why people watch the ones they watch, and I'm trying to not predict it or understand it. Now, on a much bigger scale, I started wondering if film directors know or can predict how well their films are going to do. And then what if one of their films flops? Well, that's kind of the case with today's episode. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a film that should have been a big success, but wasn't. Let's check it out. Today's film is Flight of the Phoenix. It's from 1965, 142 minutes in color. This is basically about a group of men, mostly in the oil business, and they must learn how to survive mentally and physically when their small plane goes down in a remote area of the Sahara Desert. Now, at first, I thought, oh, these characters are all going to be one-dimensional stereotypes. You got a few British guys, you got a Frenchman, a Scotsman, they all have these heavy accents. You have a Mexican guy, a doctor's in there, a very suspicious, cold, calculating German guy, and then a few Americans sprinkled in as well. But the thing is, the 3 or 4 main characters, at least, really do kind of change, and our perception of what we think of them changes as well. They kind of go against type sometimes. The cast is incredible. It's James Stewart, Richard Attenborough. Those two guys are pilot and co-pilot, and they're very different actors, very different physically, but I really like the combination of the two of those guys working together in this film. Peter Finch, Ernest Borgnine plays this loud, dumb American. It's way over the top. Dan Duryea is in this. Now, my exposure to him is mostly in old film noirs, and he's quite old in this film. It was like one of the last films he did. I think he died about 3 years afterwards at the young age of 61 of cancer. And then you have Hardy Kruger. I had never heard of him before. He's a German actor. He's got a major role in this film, and he does very well, holds his own against Attenborough and Stewart quite well. He was a Hitler Youth growing up, but all teenagers were required to join the Hitler Youth. And then he was in the German army in World War II. He was captured by the Americans 3 times, and I guess the 3rd time he escaped was the one that actually worked. And I couldn't help but wonder what it was like on the set with this guy who has a heavy German accent, and he was in the German army playing against James Stewart, who of course was a pilot in World War II. Hardy Kruger was also in Barry Lyndon, a film I really like a lot. And he died not too long ago, January 2022. And I'm filming this in September 2022. The director was Robert Aldrich, very well-respected director. He liked to do stories about people who are struggling to survive no matter what. He was one of the last kind of old-school directors, one of those guys that learned on the job, worked his way up. Right before the film school generation moved in and started making films. People like Spielberg, Lucas, De Palma, Coppola. And he also directed the great film noir Kiss Me Deadly, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, The Dirty Dozen, and the original The Longest Yard. Flight of the Phoenix was filmed in the California and Arizona deserts. It looks like it's all taking place in one location. In fact, the film really does take place in one location. There are no flashbacks to show like the characters' backstories or anything like that. It all takes place with them in the desert, in the situation with this airplane. And then as the film goes on, the welts and blisters from the heat on the men's faces get progressively worse and worse. And it's kind of disturbing sometimes because you see their skin peeling off and you see the blood underneath. So that's a really good makeup job, actually. And they're just all falling apart, mentally and physically, from just the heat and the despair of their situation, if they're going to die or not. At about the 1 hour mark of this film, which is over 2.5 hours, they figure out a way to, they have one chance to survive. It's a long shot. It may not work, but it basically comes down to, are we going to take this long shot chance, or are we just going to sit and watch each other die? So they take the chance. It's an involving, exciting film. You totally buy into their situation and into the location. There's one misstep. There's a scene where one of the sergeants has a hallucination staring out at the sand dunes, because they have very little food too. And he sees this woman dancing, sort of like a belly dance, and it's like, what is this doing in this film? And apparently they considered cutting that scene out of the film, and I think they probably should. It really doesn't add anything to it. So it costs $5 million to make, but it only made $3 million at the box office. And I think Robert Aldrich, the director, was sort of surprised and couldn't quite understand why. It's possible it was the ad campaign for it. Maybe because it was in 1965 and it seemed a little too old-fashioned, because people were looking forward to a different type of cinema in the 60s. Whatever reason, I don't know why it failed, because it's a really, really good movie. In fact, I'm going to give this one 4.5 planes out of 5. So what's on this disc? This is a Criterion disc. Let me just say right away, the trailer on here and the trailer you're going to find online, I would avoid it if you want to go in fresh. It has so many spoilers in it. It begins with the end sequence. That's just ridiculous. And then throughout the trailer, almost every major plot point is shown in this trailer. So after watching the film and watching the trailer, I thought, I can't believe they gave away so much. That's really ridiculous. I would skip that trailer completely. So it has a few extras besides the trailer. There's no commentary that I won't listen to. It has a conversation between the director Walter Hill and a film scholar talking about Aldrich and talking about the film. And then it has an interview. These are both about 20 minutes long. Interview with the James Stewart's biographer, talking about Stewart's experiences as a pilot and how his choices of films changed after those experiences. Let's see, we also have one of those booklets that unfortunately, folds out like that. And I never liked those. It's pretty informative. The writer makes a case for Jaws being influenced by Flight of the Phoenix. I don't really get it. And then a little surprise in here, you get a little airplane kit, and I can't say too much about that because it would give something away. So visually, you know what? Visually, it varies. The scenes where the men are standing, and in the background, you just see this, kind of like this one. You see this blank blue sky, and then the sand. Those scenes are pretty grainy, and I don't mean that as a pun. Sand, grainy. Those scenes seem really grainy to me. I was kind of surprised. But then the other scenes are very sharp and look really good. It sounds really good. So where can you see Flight of the Phoenix? Well, it's a pretty old film. You can try your library. You can rent it. You can buy it. I would wait for the half-off sale, of course, at Criterion. And it's also right now on HBO Max. So if you have that, you can check it out there. I remember seeing this when I was a kid, really liking it. So it was kind of cool to see this again. So Flight of the Phoenix, check it out. Hope you like this video. Feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below here. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. We're on our way to 350 subscribers. And otherwise, I will see you next time.